I
Yeah.
want to ask you one question because I'm not really, practice yoga. But for example, I go to the fitness center, then I get a pass for the fitness
Mm,
classes. Then I see the 4 or 5 yoga classes, but I have no idea like which one is the best or what is the difference. So I just
mm,
totally a beginner. Then I just pick one and then pick one, then I experience it and I like it. Yeah, like kind of, oh, it's with me, right? So it's a good for my level, and overall I really like it. But then later on I discovered that this yoga is not authentic, not traditions, like just they call yoga, but it's not really the yoga, like because I don't have this teacher point of view. So yeah,
mm.
I can't really say it, but I think how consumer choosing the things these days, like that. So what do you think? If the people, I don't say choose the wrong one though, but because if we practice all core yoga, then how we can differentiate? Like,
I
yeah.
think it's the same with Reiki is,
Mm.
you, for example, took two different types of Reiki.
Yes.
And so I feel like it's the same with
Mm.
yoga. It's like some of them are
Mm.
definitely more stretching classes or more
Mm.
exercise classes, but
Mm.
at the same time, there's vinyasa ones that are, based in the traditions of Ashtanga and
Mm.
even some faster hatha flows
Mm.
are in there, or Kundalini, for example, has some more striking movements than some
Mm.
of the calmer ones. So I feel like part of it, that is the journey, of
Mm.
like you do find the one that you want
Mm.
and that engages you. And then if you want to go farther down the path, then it's
Mm.
like
Mm.
find what is more traditional, or because there's 8 limbs of yoga, really, of what
Mm.
it could be. And
Mm.
so one of them is just meditation, and enlightenment
Don't
is
move
what you're going
any,
for.
don't move anybody, right?
No, and originally yoga wasn't something where it was like 8 poses or something like that. I'm getting my number wrong, but it
Mm.
wasn't very many poses, and the majority of them were sitting.
So
So the
yoga
whole
can be
purpose.
meditation.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yes, there was still like, some
Mm.
stretching involved, or breath, or like
Mm.
pretzel kind of shapes of sitting, but it
Mm.
wasn't meant to be an active
Mm.
type of, like, if you are sweating in yoga, there's one philosophy that if you're sweating in yoga, you're not doing yoga
Oh,
because that's not
okay.
traditional? So it's
Oh.
like that kind of
Mm.
thing. Whereas, if you look at some of the
Mm.
more modern teachers who brought it to
Mm.
Western society,
Mm.
actually, you know, it's based off of gymnastics too. So,
Mm.
like that kind of thing, like even though
Mm.
it came from
Mm.
India, like it came
Mm.
at a time when gymnastics were also being introduced. And
Mm.
so it has gymnastic type poses in it. So it's like,
Mm.
is that wrong then if it still
Mm.
came from the origins through
Yes.
master yogis?
Mm.
So I think that's the whole thing, is just getting people interested
Mm.
and then
Mm.
and practicing, and then being curious. And I think we have the same
Mm.
thing in Reiki, and you kind of mentioned it earlier too, of like,
Mm.
how are people going to continue, and why would they take a class? Well, they're going to take it because they're
Yes.
interested and they
Yeah.
want to learn more. And Reiki is super simple from the outside, but
Yes.
it said so deep,
Yeah.
like it's like it is just like yoga in that way, for me at least, is that you can just, go to a fitness center, take that class,
Uh-huh.
and that is still, you're still experiencing some form, even if it's a
Yeah.
watered down form, versus if you start
Mm.
actually like learning, it's like,
Mm.
ooh, you can go down a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, I have same feeling. Think I really like this simple philosophy in Reiki.
Yeah.
Do you think the people has more life experiences and a deep knowledge can get more curious about deep philosophy of yoga? Do you think?
I mean, that's what happened to me as I practiced for
Yeah.
about 10 years or so before I
Mm.
actually wanted to take more serious, like learn about philosophy and learn about, because
Mm.
that's, what you're doing when you're taking a a yoga class, for example, and it's the same with Reiki, right? Is like when
mm,
you start going into Shihan, it's like you're learning philosophy, you're learning more
mm,
deeply, like what do all these points mean and how does it affect our practice and the
mm,
body and, all of that. And so it's like those layers of if you don't even have the curiosity to begin with, then you're not going any deeper because I think, yoga meditation, for example, yoga, it literally means the yoking of the mind or the calming of the mind stuff. And so it's
mm,
bringing, you into your body and kind of having that marriage between the body and the mind. And
mm,
so, at its base, it's just as simple as
mm,
Reiki. And
mm,
yet, there's so many levels and so many philosophies and so many different ways of doing it. So for
mm,
me, I guess to answer your question too, it's the same of like people aren't going to be interested unless they practice more. I think
mm.
people make things complicated
Yeah,
instead of the thing being complicated a lot of times. And so
yeah.
yeah, there's still like going back to my experience
Mm,
with meditation, it's like it's a simple practice ultimately. You're just trying to
mm,
calm the mind and be present with whatever arises.
mm,
And that's a simple practice, but it's
yeah.
so hard. And so I
Mm,
think the same thing with Reiki is it's a simple practice, but it can be so hard. But I think I, like you, experienced maybe more sensation and more,
mm,
active experiences that brought curiosity and wonder and joy through Reiki, that
mm.
it's like
Yeah.
that then trickled to all my other activities
Mm,
and the things I'm into
mm,
because it not only made me realize, oh, I'm overcomplicating these other
mm.
practices, but it
Yeah,
also made me like it was so quick, with the practice. Like
yeah.
it's
Really
it's
quick.
kind of instant gratification sometimes. Like even from level one, I already felt in Reiki that it was so powerful. And then level
Mm,
two, I was like, wow. And then level three was just like even more. And then, doing Shihan um practices with you and like studying it and everything. And the more I practice, I just feel like I feel like with other activities sometimes that I'm curious about, there
mm,
isn't a lot of return, kind of like you were saying, because there's so
mm,
much to learn. And so it
mm,
takes years before you get satisfaction. Whereas I felt like I got that so fast with Reiki
mm.
that I too don't necessarily search things out all the
Yeah, yeah,
time
yeah, yeah.
now.